friends, and welcome back to the Heal with Grace podcast. Today's episode is one that I know will hit home for so many of you because not only have I struggled with it, but I know I would say most people I talk to struggle with some sort of disordered relationship with food, whether it came before their chronic illness or chronic pain or became an issue as they're going through their healing journey. Because when you're navigating these issues, or just feeling like your body's failing you, it's easy to fall down the rabbit hole of fixing it through food because there's so many messages about food and what it means and how you need it or what you need and what you don't need, what's going to help you. It's exhausting. So, I'm going to talk today about the overlap between chronic illness, chronic pain, and eating disorders or any kind of disordered eating with food. And I'm going to even talk about exactly what that looks like. So, the personality traits that make people with chronic pain more susceptible to disordered eating and how chronic illness symptoms and eating disorder symptoms can mimic each other are something we're going to dive into. And why the wellness industry and functional medicine culture can be a slippery slope into restriction. And then, most importantly, we're going to talk about how to heal your relationship with food without fear of obsession. So, let's get into it. First and foremost, what is disordered eating? If you notice yourself thinking more about food, about what you should eat or what you shouldn't eat, and it takes up mind space, or you have difficulty digesting foods, or you've been told or shown that you have certain sensitivities to food, and it takes up just way more time in your day than you think it does, or than you think it should, and you're exhausted by it, and it's become something, maybe you isolate yourself from food, maybe you don't eat around people, maybe you hesitate to go out socially because you don't want to have to sit there and not know what to eat because you have so many restrictions. All of these things lead up to a disordered relationship with food. You may not have some full-blown eating disorder, but it doesn't really matter. You have something that's taking up more space and more fear and anxiety in your mind and in your body. If that feels like something that you resonate with, that you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's me. Like, I think about food when I wake up and I think about it when I go to sleep, or I think about how it's going to affect my body, or I shame or guilt myself for eating something. Maybe it's even just like a really clean eating dessert, and then you still shame yourself because you're afraid it's going to get you sick or you're afraid it's going to lead to cancer. If you have any kind of fear around food, that's essentially what I'm getting at. If you have any kind of fear around food, you need to listen to this. We don't want fear in our bodies. Fear creates stuckness, inflammation, dysregulated nervous system, and really just crappy place to be, to be frank, right? If we have so much fear around actually something that's supposed to be so pleasurable, then you definitely need to listen to this. Food is actually meant to bring us together. There's so much culture and romanticism and slowing down and medicine within food. I know there's a lot about like food is medicine, and I'm not discounting that. It can actually be a really great thing and really great mechanism to give to yourself and to nourish yourself and to show yourself love by eating what your body feels like it wants and how it's going to feel good. But if it comes with that fear and anxiety and shame and guilt, no, we don't want it. First and foremost, I am going to talk about the personality connection. Who is most at risk for having some sort of disordered eating? First and foremost, let's start with a question. Have you ever thought of yourself as a perfectionist or been called one? If you've been listening to this podcast, you know there's a lot of us that live here. And if you have chronic pain or illness, chances are you have a personality that makes you more susceptible to both health struggles and disordered eating. And here's why. First and foremost, you might have an element or a part of you that's more of the perfectionist or overachiever. So you're used to working hard for everything, your career, your relationships, your healing. And I'm going to highlight this, your healing. You might be thinking you're doing all the things. You're following the wellness influencers. You're doing what your functional doctor tells you to. You're avoiding these foods. You're inputting these foods. You're taking these supplements. You're eating perfectly. And of course, you go all in, except bodies don't work like a math equation. Restriction does not always equal healing. And furthermore, restriction of food creates this disordered place, this disordered relationship, because when we restrict certain foods, okay? Maybe you've been told, and I'm not going to get super specific because there's so many different rules and regulations about food out there, but maybe you've been told that eating sugar is a bad thing, right? And so then when we do that in our brains, it puts that sugar up on a pedestal. So when we put that sugar up on a pedestal, us humans, because we are human and we're not perfect, we have this other rebel side of us that's like, ooh, how am I going to get that? And when I get it, I'm going to eat all of it. And then I'm going to feel like crap and I'm going to shame myself because I'm not supposed to have it. So when we've taken it off the pedestal, and maybe you're at a party, a holiday party, or I don't know, you're out to dinner or you're out with friends or you're on a date or whatever, and like it sounds fun to have some dessert, and you allow yourself to end up having it, then you're going to want a lot more of it. So either a couple things happen. One, you just shame yourself while you eat it the whole time, which we know by Mark David, who wrote the Slow Down Diet book, which by the way, it's not a diet, it's just a way of eating, or it's what it teaches. He teaches you what happens in your body when you shame food as you're eating it. The physical reaction actually slows down your digestion when you shame yourself while you're eating something. So when you're sitting there having some ice cream and you're like, oh, I shouldn't be having this. Oh my gosh, it's going to totally disrupt my hormones. Oh my gosh, blah, 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 blah. Then your body's like, oh my God, danger. Yeah, we can't be eating this. So it's going to fight it, essentially, like fight it off. You're going to have gut issues. You're not going to be able to digest it well. It literally changes the way that your body reacts to food. And then another thing that can happen when you take that food off the pedestal is that you want more of it because you think, oh, well, all right, it's all out the window. I already ate some, so I'm going to eat everything tonight. Or maybe you're sensitive to gluten and you have a bite of it, or you didn't realize there was gluten. And you're like, well, F it. I'm just going to have as much as I can tonight because it's going to hurt me anyway. It's this all or nothing standpoint that we put ourselves in when we put foods up on pedestals or we tell ourselves we're not supposed to eat it or something like that. That's where this like perfectionistic, rigid right and wrong comes in. There's also the hyper controlled thinker. So, chronic illness often makes you feel like your body's out of control, right? So, food becomes the thing that you can control, but that control can become an obsession. Suddenly, you're terrified of gluten or dairy or sugar or carbs, and then you start to become sensitive to them. So I'm actually going to share a little bit about my story with this. If you know anything about me, you know that I did struggle with the eating disorder prior. Well, actually, it was around the time of my chronic symptoms. It all went together. So it started from disordered eating of being a healthy person, and then it just went into a full blown eating disorder. But first and foremost, I was told by a functional practitioner that I went and this was like 10, 12 years ago when a lot of this was pretty new. Like gluten free stuff was not easily accessible, and like the paleo diet was really new. And so I was put on the paleo diet. And because of my personality characteristics, because of how desperate I was to feel better, I was like, hell yeah, I'll do anything. So I researched the shit out of it and I honored it to a freaking T. I did everything. I didn't go out to eat. If I did, I brought my own food, literally. I brought my own coconut aminos to sushi one time, and I stopped drinking. I stopped doing so many things. Now, I have to say that like some of that within reason and in balance is not a bad thing. I am not discounting the nutritional value of food and that food can really nourish our bodies. But when we take it to the extreme, it creates so much fear. So I became so rigid, so fearful. I literally thought, like, I emailed my practitioner one time and I was like, this healthy ingredient has I don't even remember what it was, but like on the label, it has, this percentage of this. Is that going to make me have my symptoms? Is that going to make me like, I'm not going to share all my symptoms, but is that going to make me have these issues? And at the time I was working with my hormones, like, is that going to disrupt my hormones if I have this tiny little thing? Literally, I was so scared of ingredients and food. Now, guess what happened when I did that? I started to have more digestion issues. No shit. Now, on one hand, she did help me in many other ways. I have to say that. There were a lot of things that she actually listened to me about and we figured out together. At the same time, I still think Putting someone on a rigid diet is not healthy, is not helpful. Unless, and I always say this, unless you have a very true allergy, right? If you are celiac, if you have a nut allergy, if you have a dairy allergy, like a true allergy, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to not honor that. So you have to do what's best for your body. But if you have been fine, and I say quote fine, like okay with food, and then all of a sudden you go down the route of getting tested for sensitivities and all this, and like all this stuff comes up, it's going to create more fear and rigidity. So what we have to understand, and what I finally came to realize, actually, I realized I had an eating disorder after a while, and I was like, okay, so we're going to heal this. And my relationship with food completely changed, and I'm forever grateful for that healing journey. My point here is that when you follow people that say you should do something, even when it's making you miserable, that's not the time to follow something. We have to learn to listen to ourselves a little bit more. And I actually just want this to be an educational piece of helping you understand that the way that we perceive and think about food changes how it digests in our body. And I'm going to probably say that so many different times throughout this episode. I feel like I'm getting really serious right now, really heated because it's so important. I cannot tell you the amount of times, like, it's probably almost everyone I work with has some sort of disordered relationship with food or eating disorder. Maybe because of their chronic health journey, or maybe because of before it. It's more about learning how to have a relationship with yourself and learning what foods might help you instead of what's going to harm you. So, yeah, eat more veggies, like eat a well balanced meal, have all the food groups, right? Don't minimize, eat enough, eat more, eat what your body needs, because that then will give you the best regulated nervous system. When you can give it enough, give it the amount of macros, calories, carbs, all the things that you actually need to feel safe so that your hormones settle, your cortisol levels settle. But don't go down the road of restricting every little thing and being super strict about your diet, because the more fear and rigidity is going to hurt you more than the actual food. And I'll say that again. The more fear and rigidity around food hurts you way more than actually the types of food that you're eating. All right, so I kind of alluded to this honestly within my story, but another personality characteristics of someone who might be more susceptible to disordered eating, chronic illness, is that people pleaser and self-sacrificer. Maybe you're someone who doesn't want to be a burden. You follow what the experts say, even when it's making you miserable. Or maybe someone tells you that your bloating is caused by toxins. So you might start avoiding entire food groups, even if deep down you feel worse. You also might be that highly sensitive person. Maybe you feel things deeply, including pain, and it makes sense that food might impact you differently too. But there's a difference between mindful eating and fear based eating. And that's what I want to talk more about right now. A lot of people in the wellness space cross this line because, again, there's a lot of talk about food as medicine. And again, I fully honor that. And when we can use that as a place of self love and nourishment, it is really wonderful. But it crosses the line all the time into fear based eating. So let's talk about this. By the way, if you haven't seen, we are on, and it's just like a plug for a second because I'm moving around right now. We are on YouTube. So if you want to see me right now talking, I'm standing up, I'm moving around, I talk with my hands. Maybe it's a little more interesting for you. Sometimes I'll do some somatic practices. But if you're listening and you just want to listen, great. Okay. The difference between mindful eating and fear based eating is that at first glance, mindful eating and what I call fear based eating can look very similar. So, both involve being aware of what you eat, how you eat, and how foods affect your body. But the intention behind them is completely different. And that's where a lot of people cross the line. So, what is mindful eating? Mindful eating is about tuning into your body and using curiosity rather than judgment when it comes to food choices. It's rooted in trust, self awareness, and presence. You eat based on how your body feels, not rigid rules. You allow flexibility. There are no forbidden foods, just ones that make you feel good versus not good. Maybe you eat with joy and presence rather than stress. You honor your hunger and fullness cues rather than ignoring them. And what this means is you don't go longer than you need when you're hungry. So if there's a scale from 0 to 10, we usually want to start eating when we're hungry around like a 4 to 5, sometimes 6. Not like, oh my gosh, I'm starving. I need to eat everything in sight. That's ignoring your hunger cues. And then we want to finish when we're eating around a 7 fullness or something like that, instead of going way past our fullness cues. Overall, when you're mindfully eating, food is nourishment. It's not something to control, obsess over. And I have to tell you, I've had a very long journey with this. I mean, it's probably been about, yeah, oh my gosh, it's been about 10 years since I started addressing my eating disorder and healing from it. And I've gone through like so many phases with it. And I've actually now fully come to, I really do eat in the place of like food is medicine. I eat foods that make my body feel good. And then, like, yeah, I have some things that I want sometimes. Like the other night, Saturday night, I had a gelato, I had ice cream, and it was really yummy because I was having a great time, you know? And I'm all good. And I have what I want throughout the week that makes my body feel good. Now, there was a long time that I couldn't do that because there was so much rigidity around it and like a fear and shame. It took time. I'm not saying it took 10 years to get there. I'm just saying it's been a journey. And if you're noticing you have this fear base, which I'm going to talk about in a second, it's really time to look at it. What is fear based eating? So, fear based eating comes from anxiety, control, and rigid thinking about food. It's when eating turns into an act of avoidance rather than nourishment. So you might stress about every ingredient, fearing it will harm your health. Maybe you follow rigid rules, food rules, rather than listening to your body. Maybe you avoid entire food groups, not because they make you feel bad, but because you've been told that they're bad. You've been told they're going to do something to your body you don't want it to do. Maybe you eat certain foods that causes guilt, shame, or fear. Or maybe you feel like you constantly have to cleanse or detox from bad foods. And this is where, well, yeah, this is where the wellness culture crosses the line. It loves to disguise fear based eating as health consciousness. But here's the problem: when food choices are driven by fear instead of trust, it's not mindfully eating, it's a form of control. And when the message becomes avoid this or you'll get sick instead of listening to your body, people develop food anxiety instead of true well-being, right? It's like when we keep filling our buckets with what's negative, that's all we're going to see. Avoid these foods. You'll get sick from this. You'll get sick from this organic. You'll get sick, I mean, non-organic. You'll get sick because these have these toxins and blah, 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 blah. It's like fear mongering everywhere. Instead of like, what if we replace that with, hey, let's eat a well-balanced diet and eat these foods so you can listen to your body and maybe it might feel good. Try it out, right? Because everybody's body is different. So what might work for one person, truly, what might work for one person and what's going to feel good in their body and what their body's going to respond to is different than someone else. So we can't all follow the same thing. Another thing is that when every meal is about biohacking instead of enjoyment, we actually forget that food is supposed to be a source of pleasure and connection and culture, right? Food brings people together. Food has this amazing ability to bring creativity and life and love and yumminess and passion to our lives if we allow it. The thing is that many people who start with intuitive or mindful eating end up shifting into fear based restriction without realizing it because in the wellness world, that line is very, very thin. So, how do you know if you cross the line? I want you to ask yourself: one, do I make food choices from a place of love or fear? Two, do I feel free and flexible with food or do I feel restricted and anxious? Three, am I listening to my body or am I listening to strict food rules? And that might look like not only what you eat, but when you eat, right? There's a lot of talk about um, when you eat, or, yeah, right? Like don't eat late at night, or maybe fast until midday or something like that. Again, this totally depends on the person. And I'm not going to get too specific about all this because, again, I don't want to put ideas in your head. I want you to know what your body wants. But some people truly actually do feel good when they eat a little bit later in the day. Some people need to get up and eat because their cortisol and hormones will drop and their blood sugar will drop if they don't. Like, there's no wrong, right or wrong. It's just person to person. So if eating makes you feel stressed, fearful, or like you're constantly doing it wrong, it's probably not mindful eating. It's fear-based eating in disguise. And healing isn't about fear, it's about trust. I'm going to say that again. Healing isn't about fear, it's about trust. Learning to trust ourselves and our bodies. And I understand that that might feel so far from you right now. I get it. I mean, trust can be difficult when there's been a lot of body-based symptoms and things that's popped up. So totally. And also, this is exactly what I want to help you with, because the more that you can learn about the power and wisdom your body has, the more you can trust it. And this is exactly what I talk about and what I teach you in the Mind Body Healing Method. So the Mind Body Healing Method is a group program that I created a couple years ago, and it's specifically to help teach you how to get out of chronic symptoms, whether that's pain, gut issues, migraines, chronic illness, IC, things like that. When you're stuck there, it can be so debilitating, right? So I help you understand the nervous system, understand your brain, and understand the root, the beliefs and the emotions around your symptoms. And I've actually been really excited because I've been totally updating it. We're having a whole new version, like a Mind Body Healing 2.0, that's going to be launching this May 2025. And so I would absolutely love to have you if you feel like this is the right fit. And if you want to sign up now, what you'll do is you'll click the link below, you'll sign up for our wait list. And when you're on that wait list, you'll get added to the list to be the first to know when it launches, when it's live. And then you'll get 50% off if you decide to join at that time. And in the meantime, if you want to go ahead and get started, you can go ahead and grab our self-paced mind body healing method, and then you'll get completely updated when we go live. So if you have any questions about that, let me know, but find the link below to sign up. Okay. Now let's talk about how chronic illness and disordered eating mimic each other. So with chronic symptoms, a big reason eating disorders go unnoticed in the chronic illness community is because they can look like regular chronic illness symptoms. So here's the crossover. One certain area, digestive issues, right? Totally. Gut issues suck. I'm just going to say that. We're going to dive in to talking about it. Okay. So, a lot of people dealing with chronic illness or food sensitivities assume that certain foods are the enemy, when in reality, their nervous system is stuck in fight or flight mode. Now, here's the science behind it. When your body perceives stress or danger, digestion slows down. So, your body prioritizes survival over breaking down food. This is similar to when I talked about like shame and guilt changes how we digest food. When you're stuck in chronic dysregulated nervous system, literally your body's like, okay, well, we're in survival mode. So digestion isn't as important as just keeping you alive. So we don't really need that as much, which means that you have reduced stomach acid, slower motility, and poor nutrient absorption. This can also lead to bloating, IBS like symptoms, and food intolerances, even if the food isn't itself the problem. In Mark David's book, The Slow Down Diet, he explains how our stress around food and digestion actually creates more digestive issues. Because if you're eating while anxious, your body physically can't process food properly. And this is why some people react to food they were perfectly fine eating before. Not because the food is suddenly bad, but because their body is too stressed to digest it properly. So, what do we do with this? We really learn how to slow down obsessively eliminating foods and focus on, reducing nervous system stress around eating. We bring in, and this isn't just around eating, it's it's changing the pace of your life. So you try some deep breathing before meals. You start eating in a more relaxed state and challenging the idea that food is something to fear. You really get really curious around the idea that you don't have to restrict certain foods, no matter what you've been told, no matter what you've read. Mark David talks about when we're moving from thing to thing, we're eating in the car, we're eating in front of a show, we're eating during work, our mind's focused elsewhere. Our body is not set up for full on digestion. So, the more that you can practice eating in a slower, calmed, relaxed environment without distraction, it can help prime your saliva, which starts digestion. It can help prime your body to really be in that relaxed state to actually digest your food. Another symptom that I want to talk about that also goes along with disordered eating is anxiety and hyperfixation on symptoms. So, this is one of the biggest reasons why people don't actually heal because they're constantly scanning for what's wrong. If you're checking in on every symptom after every meal, if you're analyzing every little body sensation, if you're convinced that that wrong food will set you back, or you ate something earlier and you're like, I shouldn't have eaten that. That's why I feel fatigued. That's why I feel like crap. Your nervous system is in a state of hypervigilance, and the body can't heal what's in a constant threat direct detection mode. So, ironically, focusing so much on symptoms can actually make them worse because your body stays stuck in a loop of stress and inflammation. So, when we can shift your focus from fear based symptom tracking to rebuilding trust with your body, and instead of obsessing over every food reaction by asking yourself, instead of like, what's wrong? How did this hurt me? Food must have caused these symptoms. You ask, how can I feel safer in my body today? I want that to be a question that you ask yourself all the time. How can I feel safer in my body today? Now, we've talked kind of a lot about how wellness culture can lead to disordered eating, but I want to just give a few more examples because it really kind of is a hotbed of disordered eating. And I don't want this episode to be a total like shaming wellness culture because I mean, I'm very much so in it. Like, this is my career, this is my job, this is my industry. There's a lot of love and a lot of good in it. I just want you to be aware of what might be getting you stuck. Yeah. So when you hear things like this food is toxic, or healing your gut means cutting out dairy, gluten, sugar, also joy and happiness when we eliminate these things. Maybe you hear that intermittent fasting is the key to longevity. But what if you're hungry at 9 a.m.? This stuff isn't bad in moderation, but when it comes anxiety inducing, it is a problem. And so, a few key takeaways I want you to understand. Digestion starts in the mind. If you're eating in stress and fear, your body literally doesn't absorb nutrients properly. And pleasure matters. When you enjoy your food, your metabolism actually works better. And it's not just about, oh, I enjoy the taste of that food, but when you can actually enjoy and be present with the food and fully believe it's not going to hurt you, and furthermore, not judge yourself or criticize yourself for having it, that's what I mean by pleasure. That's what I mean by present. We take away the judgment, we take away the criticism, we take away the idea that it's going to hurt you, and you enjoy it, and it's something that your body likes. Yeah, you're going to feel great. We also want to make sure you're aware that rigid rules don't equal health. So the more stressed you are about food, the more your body suffers. The more stressed you are about your healing, the more your body suffers. We don't need to give you more. Well, yes, there are tools to help you, totally. But if it's your only focus in life to focus on the tools, that's counterintuitive. And I know sometimes sometimes things feel counterintuitive, meaning don't focus on this, but focus on this. Don't focus on this too much. But yes, you need to be consistent with your skills, right? Like, I get it. It can be kind of confusing. And it's an ebb and flow. Basically, at the end of the day, we just want you to get out of the place of fear. I want you to reclaim your trust in food and your body without food, without fear, without spiraling into restriction. So, I want you to ask yourself, are you making choices about food from love or fear? Are you focusing on your nervous system healing first? Is your body in survival mode? Because no perfect diet is going to fix it. I want you to start with relaxation, trust, and reducing food fear. And know that seriously, the root is not the food. It's your brain and your nervous system response. I want you to ditch the perfectionism. Your body is not a project to be hacked, And healing happens when we stop forcing it so hard. So, again, if this episode resonated with you and you need support along the way, find the link below to sign up as one of our founding members for the new Mind Body Healing Method 2.0 launching in May. When you do, you'll be the first to know when it launches and get 50% off. And if this episode spoke to you and you thought about someone that might need to hear it, please share it with someone. Let's get this conversation going out there because healing should never feel like a punishment. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember your body is not broken.